there's always going to be a tug of war there. And I think part of the challenges we have as directors is to cajole, convince, and find a space in which a brilliant staff can take the risks that ultimately define an institution. And I think that's one of the hardest things to do, because there's only so much change any institution can tolerate before it devolves into something like chaos.
So how much change is too much?
Well, I think you only know when you've crossed that line retrospectively. And you know, I have a lot of scars on my back to demonstrate how often we've crossed the line. But it's a very complicated thing. I mean, often, at least in our case, some of the most ardent agents of change are actually our trustees. And some of the more careful players are curators. And it's not because they're uninterested, but because they feel an enormous responsibility to their predecessors and to wanting to get it right. So what and I never wanted to bifurcate the contemporary from the modern, which would be a solution. You have one group of people who are doing crazy things over here, and you have another group of people who are dealing with a past and a history that's more definable. Because it always struck me that there was a creative tension between those two poles. And I think it's about oscillation. You're bouncing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, trying to do so in a way that avoids it ever rupturing into a real crisis where fault lines are defined and people harden their positions. And I think, at least from my perspective, one of the challenges I have and some of the people on the senior staff have is nudging people, cajoling people, but never pushing past the point of discomfort. So there's some space, some metaphoric space that's really productive, where there's a degree of discomfort, and then I think there's another space where it's utterly destructive.